If you've ever wondered how to dig out a valve, how to rebuild the valve and put a new valve box and all that, well, then you're in the right place, because that's exactly what we're doing here today. We're digging out this valve box. There's a valve in there that needs to be replaced, but we're just going to rebuild it. So we're taking off the top, the diaphragm and all that. We're putting new guts in and putting a new top on, new solenoid, and then we're going to wire it up. The reason we're doing that is, you can see we've got new decomposed granite with some plants and a boulder around. We're redoing these landscape areas. One of the things that we've done, this was grass, so we've capped off all the heads. We've tied in to where this valve only is going to be drip. And so it's only going to do these new beds and then some existing beds as well. So we're digging this valve out, because really the last thing you want to do is have all new landscaping, new drip and all that, and then an old valve. And the valve that was actually in this valve box, and you'll see it here in a second, it was an original valve from like the 80s when they built this place. So we're not going to leave that in there. We are going to fix that, get a new valve, or valve with new guts and all that. But of course, to get down to it, you've got to dig it out. And so one of the things, when you are digging out a valve in a valve box, you want to be careful. There's wire in there, number one. You don't want to cut the wires. You don't want to make a bigger repair than what you need to do or what you're there to do. And two, there's main line. And this main line, I've got it shut off because we got to take the valve apart. So if you hit the main line, it's not going to, spray you or anything like that. But you don't want to break the wire. You don't want to hit the main line. You don't want to break things that you don't want to. If we were going to tear all this out, I still wouldn't break it. I'd dig it out and cut it real good. And so you just want to be careful when you're digging this out. I used my sharpshooter at first, and now we get down here and I've got this little shovel. It's actually I think they call it a gopher shovel. I found it at Cabela's, and I thought, you know what? That would be really good for digging around valves and stuff. And guess what? I use it all the time. And so when you're digging it out, be careful, but then clean it all out. Dig it all the way down to the pipe. I'm going to cut those wires. We're going to re-splice the wires. Got a little drip stake, stick it over there, keep them out of the way. We'll re-splice that in. Now let's just take this valve apart. And like I said, we're leaving the base in there. And fortunately, the newer valves have the exact same base as the older ones. So we can go with all new diaphragm and top, and it still match up just great. These valves, this is a Rainbird, a PEB valve, and it's got little nuts that are holding it down on some screws. It's kind of on there pretty tight. I had to kind of hit it to get it off. And now this is just leaking out from both sides, main line and your laterals, leaking out. So I usually, before it gets too full, I took that little base plate out. I'll show you that here in a second. But this is going to fill full of water, and you saw how fast it is. So we've got our little pump. We'll pump this water out. You don't want to try to fix it with it still a lot of water in there. So that new plate, it's what the diaphragm sits on. So you want to replace that, not just the diaphragm, put that other. And don't forget about the spring. Line that up, it sits right down on top. Look at that. Isn't that nice? Brand new top of the valve, brand new diaphragm. I mean, it's like a whole new valve right there. Put all the nuts back on. And some guys make fun of me because I still do everything by hand. I don't use a nut driver or a drill or anything like that. I just don't want to break it. Yeah, it may take me a little bit longer than some other guys, but I'm not going to screw them down so tight that it breaks it or I can't get them off again. So I still just use my little hand ratchet there and tighten it down. And I like going in the star pattern like you're putting on a tire on a car. And then after I get them all pretty tight, I'll go back around, test them all again, make sure they're all on there the way they need to be. So next we're going to go ahead and put the valve box in that. I don't know if you noticed, when they first started, the valve box was low. And this valve was actually buried. We didn't even know it was there. And so another reason why we're not going to leave it like that. Definitely not going to bury it underneath the new granite. And so I'm going to use the existing valve box to go right down as low as I can around that valve. And it's going to keep the dirt from covering up or filling in around it. And then we'll put that new valve box around it and be able to raise it up to whatever height we need. And I really want the top of the valve box to be even with the top of that curb and even with the top of the granite. I don't want it to be too low where the granite, if you open it up, goes back in. So we just want it all to be level, but I don't want anybody to be tripping on it either. So you just kind of level it up and check it, and then put your dirt back in. And then don't forget to pack it in there once you get it. And I usually put a little bit in there and then step around it and pack it. Kind of pack it as you go. And then finish putting all the rest of the dirt around it. And I had the guys leave this spot out when they were putting the granite so I could fix this valve. So I'm going to try to smooth it out as best I can. That way they can come in, put some fabric down, some weed fabric, and then with the decomposed granite, just fill in this one little spot. So get it all nice and clean, you know, try to clean up your area. Level it out real smooth, pack it in there, just stepping on it is good. And there you go. Now let's look inside this valve box. I'll show you what it looks like. You see, we've got the two valve boxes. That other one keeps that dirt all the way from around it. That way, if we need to service this valve, we can. So, and then look how level it is. So that's what you want right there. I hope you don't get dizzy like that view, man. Yeah, it's not too bad. Now they can do the granite. So there's the before. See, it was low, old valve box, old valve in there. So what does it look like when we're done? There it is. New valve box raised up to the right height. And there's that other view. So just like that, that's how to do it. Check out one of these other videos right there. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel, because we're all about trying to create better irrigators.